Hi, this is Brian. Welcome to Philosopher's Notes TV. Today we've got Ayn Rand's Fountainhead. Now this is a 752-page book, as you know if you've read it, or as you know if you've had it on your shelf and haven't read it. But fear not, we're going to pull out the big ideas into a 6-page PDF and then pull my favorite ones out of these dozen into this 10-minute Philosopher's Notes TV episode. First, a little bit about Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, super intense, as you know if you've studied her stuff. She was deeply influenced by the Bolshevik Revolution. She came from Russia to America as a 21-year-old woman. Her family was devastated by the revolution, and she was absolutely passionate about the ideals of freedom. She founded a philosophical movement called Objectivism that we're not going to get into right now. We're going to focus on some of my favorite big ideas from this great book. I think it's a great book. And she's just passionate about human freedom. I like to say it's good to mix a little Ayn Rand with a little Leo Buscaglia, who wrote the book Love, which we just did an episode about before. But take her intense passion for individuals living at their highest potential with some compassion from the Bhagavad Gita and from Leo Buscaglia, and kind of transcend and exclude all of those ideals. I think we got something super powerful. But for now, we're going to start with a quote, actually. This is from the introduction to the Fountainhead. It's a bit long, but it's worth reading. Here we go. She says this: "It does not matter that only a few in each generation will grasp and achieve the full reality of man's proper stature, and the rest will betray it. It is those few that move the world and give life its meaning, and it is those few that I have always sought to address. The rest are no concern of mine. It is not me or the Fountainhead that they will betray. It is their own souls." Powerful. So super committed to this idea that we have this potential that we can live into, and we have an obligation to live into it, or we betray our own souls. So let's look at a few ideas we can think about en route to living our most extraordinarily awesome life, as I like to say. First idea I really love here. She says, in order to say I love you, one must first be able to say the I. So to say I love you, you must first be able to say the I. So she talks a lot about how we get, kind of into this idea of compassion and love, and we get outside of ourselves before we've even had a deep sense of who we are, before we have a sense of how we operate outside of the conditioned society in which we were raised. And until we can really say I, and we have a strong personal identity, she says we can't say I love you. There's no authentic offering there. We have nothing to offer until we have a deep sense of self, a deep love of ourselves, and an authentic expression of that individuation we need to have before we can actually give anything of value to the world, which is tied to another quote here. The main character, Howard Roark, he's the hero in this book, and kind of embodies her ideals and fights against the society of his time in order to fully actualize and give himself to himself and to the world. Powerful stuff. So Howard Roark says this to another one of the heroes, Gale Winand. He says, "You were not born to be a second-hander." So a second-hander is this idea of an individual who lives kind of on the praise of someone else. So I'm a second-hander if I'm working so that you reward me, so that you make me feel good by giving me a diploma, or giving me a vice president title, or giving me whatever it is that's going to make me feel that I'm somehow valid in your eyes and in society's eyes. That's living as a second-hander. The hero of this novel, the true independent soul that we're talking about here in the Fountainhead, doesn't live for that. They live for their own process of actualization, of discovering who they are and how they want to give themselves to the world. Really powerful idea. On that light, she talks about the fact that we've got to be the kind of person that loves the doing, that loves the work, that doesn't work for the secondary consequences, for the money or the prestige or the fame or the power or whatever other things might come as a result of what we do. A lot of people chase those things. She says you can't be like that. That's kind of the second-hander. You're going after the secondary consequences. Those things, properly understood, are byproducts of our passionate pursuit of our calling, of what we're most excited about in our lives. Really cool stuff. So, question for you is, do you really love what you're doing? Do you love to do it, or are you doing it for the secondary consequences? She would say, if you don't want to betray your soul, you got to figure out what it is you really love to do, what your deepest purpose is, and rock that. And not, again, live for other people's accolades, live for other people's expectations, etc., etc., etc. We talk about purpose. Her main character is just always on purpose. One of the other characters says, can't you ever just relax and not be on purpose? And he goes on and on and on. And Howard Roark says, no, I can't ever do that. I live on purpose. Every moment for me is an opportunity to be aligned with my intention, be in integrity with that. Super intense and awesome. So another big idea here to get it on is this idea of being independent of the good or bad opinion of others. We talk about this a lot. So the anti-hero in the book, is one of them, is a guy named Ellsworth Toohey, kind of a slimy dude who's trying to take advantage of people, teaching this silly sense of idiot compassion, just always kind of giving and giving without having a sense of self. And he's basically trying to bring Roark down. And he says, he spends the entire 700 whatever pages trying to destroy Roark. And he comes up to him, and yet he's dependent on Roark's opinion of him. And he says, hey, tell me, what do you think of me? This Ellsworth Toohey guy says to the hero, Howard Roark, who he's been torturing, what do you think of me? And Howard Roark says, but I don't. I don't think of you. Why would I spend any time thinking about you? Just awesome just awesome demonstration of the power of being totally independent of the good or bad opinion of others. We spend so much of our lives, I know I have, and unfortunately continue to do more than I want to, live so much worrying about what other people are thinking about us. It's not what we want to do. So tell me what you think of me. I don't. That's so great. Another great quote I have in the note here from Samuel Goldwyn. He says, don't pay attention to the critics. Don't even ignore them. And you got to remember, I think it was a guy named Michael Gelb who wrote How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. He said, you got to remember cynics and critics, but particularly cynics, who tend to be critics, are nothing more than disillusioned idealists. If you pull back a cynic and you look at them closely, or a hypercritic, you'll see that they're disillusioned idealists. They were the most passionate idealists at one point. And they haven't gotten to the point where they believe in their ability to create whatever it is they wanted to create. So now they've demonized everything and they're disillusioned, and now they're the most vehement critics of whatever it is that they're going against. Michelangelo said, criticize by creating. If you are upset about something, whether it's the healthcare or the health of our country or whatever, the environment, whatever it is that's going on, rather than criticize by creating a solution to that problem. Really big idea. In that line of being independent of other people's opinions of us, another line that Howard Roark has is this idea of never making comparisons. He never compares himself to anyone else. Why would he do that? Doesn't make any sense. We're here to authentically express ourselves. What difference does it make what other people are doing? It's irrelevant. Go deep within and create from there. In order to do that, we've got to know what we want, which we talk about here. And then the final idea I want to talk about, I call the greatest kind of courage. So Ayn Rand says, why is it that they say we have to discipline ourselves to not do what we want to do? It's so easy to do what you want to do all the time. You got to discipline yourself to kind of stay in line, right? And she says, no. The hardest thing in the world is to actually discover who you are and to give yourself authentically to the world, to fully give yourself to the world. That's the hardest thing in the world to actually do. It takes the greatest kind of courage. And she's got just an amazing way to say it. She says, why do they always teach us that it is easy and evil to do what we want and that we need discipline to restrain ourselves? It's the hardest thing in the world to do what we want, and it requires the greatest kind of courage. So the question is, what do you want? And do you have the courage to go out and build the character and to actually follow your bliss, follow your heart, create the type of life that you want to create, and as a natural byproduct, experience all the rewards you want and serve the world, vitalize the world through your own vitality, have the courage to own your own greatness. Well, there you go. That's a really quick look at the Fountainhead. Hope you got something out of that. Looking forward to sharing more with you soon. See ya.